This is WFO Radio.
All right, I'm not going to make the old guy joke with the transition. All right, let's try again. Third time's the charm. Mr. 300, Jim.
You hear me now?
Victory.
Hey. I got this really fancy new camera in this tech trailer now that kind of follows you around and does everything. And I've not had a problem with it before. But yeah, I want to go back to your original question. So biggest fan of Erica for so many years and talking with her dad and her, briefly about a funny car career. And, I was in no position at that time, to give her what she really needed, so I couldn't be more thrilled, with obviously if I was, and she went into funny car, her ability to win, at the toughest class, that's just, you just can't find drivers like that. So I just cannot be more thrilled, Erica, with the direction that you took. And it's an awesome class, and it's hard. It's hard. I loved alcohol funny car racing when I was, a sportsman racing. So I know it doesn't really compare to what you do, but it's a driver's class, no question. I'm sure you'd have done well in funny car, but I'm just a huge fan of yours. So I'm really thrilled for your success.
How cool is that to hear, Erica?
That's pretty awesome. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, I wanted to say something to you. We were with Justin, when we won the race there in the Winter Nationals together. So hopefully we'll get into the winter circle again and can say hello. But I didn't even know if you'd remember me. It's been so long ago.
Do you remember him, Erica?
Of course I remember you, crazy. I had your T-shirts when I was a kid. I was a fan.
That's an honor. But thrilled with your success, and you make pro stock exciting.
Is it weird being back, Jim? Like being back in this world of drag racing that you were in 1993, you ran 300, all this story we're talking about. Before we let Erica go, just like, you're back on the tour, right? You got the Phillips-Connect trailer. You're going to be out there at every race, from what I understand. Jim is back, Erica. Jim, is it weird being back?
Well, I'm in a different role now as a sponsor, not a driver. So I love the business side. I've always been a fan of, NHRA and the platform that they give us. So it's weird, but it's a lot the same. Honestly, I think there's more tools and more opportunity and more TV. And I look at all the good things, about the sport. I was in NASCAR there for a bit, and it just wasn't the same fit for what I like to do in racing and create relationships and love it, and I just couldn't be more thrilled to be part of Justin's team and Davis Motorsports and Mike Green, who, I think Joe, you and I spoke. I knew Mike Green when I boat raced in the mid '80s, so it's pretty cool to be back in the sport and in some ways give back a little bit, with the sponsor and bring in new partners in the sport. That's really our goal, and to create, to build the sport that I loved, 20 years ago, last I drove.
All right, so I know that lunch is big at Elite Motorsports, Jim. It's like a big deal, and I'm watching the clock. Erica, we're going to let you run. I just wanted to get you and Jim on the air at the same time to talk about that, the way the ship's passing in the night kind of situation. But you both have done such great things. You're both still in NHRA drag racing and, maybe even better things down the road. So we're going to let you go eat. Please say hi to everybody at Elite. We'll see you this weekend. Super excited. And thanks for fighting the internet today on the show, Erica. Thank you, Erica.
All right, Joe. Thanks for having me on. Good to see you, Jim.
You too. Take care.
There she goes, Erica Enders. Just so amazing. The roads, the things that maybe might have happened but didn't quite happen that get us to where we are going eventually. But you guys both are right where you want to be, I would imagine. And hearing you talk about Justin, he's a perfect example, right? Kid in his mid-20s, knows exactly what he wants to do, what he wants to be, and where he's going. And I love the fact that you guys re-upped for the rest of the year. So he is solidified in that endeavor.
Well, he is, and he's he's bought in, to the long term, what we want to do on sponsorship and how we want to run things. And the pandemic, should teach everybody lessons. It's really tough when you're relying so much on the sport to support you with TV and the competition side of things. So I want to make sure that we're successful, with or without, the TV coverage and some of the other things. So all the B2B business that we're involved in and the new partnerships, we're bringing on a big new global company, Sensata, at this next race in Epping. They're based here in the Boston area. So, bringing them into the sport and a percentage of their sales, go to help, support the race team long term. So when you talk about this tech trailer and what we do, our CEO, Rob Phillips, is bought into this. He's a competitor. He loves winning and he loves that side of it. But at the end of the day, it's a business. So my job is to go out there and showcase our technology. Justin's doing an outstanding job, and Amber White, her from NHRA. And so we have a good feel for getting the brand out there. But now I'm taking our technology, directly to our customers, and I'm following the tour, and we're bringing transportation customers to every race and introducing them to the sport. And Justin, as an ambassador, he'll go, he'll make customer visits with us, and everybody loves him, when they see him. So, he's vested in what we do, and he's in it for the long haul, and we're going to build this race team. It's going to be a growing year this year, and we're going to continue to grow. And, we talked to Antron, he's got aspirations of 2-car teams and all this stuff. And, who knows where it'll go from here?
Who knows where it'll go from here? Exactly. But you are drag racers, and that's what's important. You understand the sport, the history of the sport. We just lost Dave McClelland. And tomorrow on the show, we're going to be talking about it with a couple of his colleagues from Diamond P Sports are going to be joining us. Tom Gee and George Castello are going to come on. They used to do the NHRA Today show and just tell stories about his professionalism and drive and passion. I was just looking at some of the first 300-mile-per-hour funny car stuff, 1993, Heartland Motorsports Park, Heartland Park, Topeka back then. Steve Evans is doing the interview, talking to you about a headwind. You hung out with Big Mac and those guys a lot. You know the sport, and that's my point. You said vested. You can't not be vested in this sport, given your place in its history, and that makes you the perfect person to help shepherd Justin with the team and the sponsor.
I want to say Dave McCullen, he's the one that nicknamed me Mr. 300 back in the day, and I thought it was pretty cool. But I will say, after in business world and to have that nickname, has lasted for 30 years. And Dave gave that. So you never know, at the time, we went 300. It was a big milestone, and I knew it would help. But, when you're finished racing, how do you know, what's going to live long-term and what won't, so it's things like that. And, in drag racing, we were all about the first of the fours back then, and so I was disappointed at the time I didn't become first of the fours. And I do want to, I am making a run at NHRA, and I'm going to put it out there that I wanted to put a club together for the first to 300 to the 660. And I think it would be amazing because Top Fuel is really close to going 300 miles an hour to the 8th mile. And I think Phillips, with my background, would love to sponsor something like that. So I don't know, Joe, what do you think? What do the viewers think of a 300 mile an hour club to the 660?
Well, I think that Brad from NHRA should be watching right now, and your phone is going to be buzzing is what's going to happen. I love the idea because we're right on the doorstep of that plateau. Now, I don't want anyone to ever freak out and think, oh my gosh, NHRA is going to go 8th mile racing.
Right.
But first to the 8th mile at 300 miles per hour is going to be a major milestone. That's going to be a big deal when it happens, and there absolutely should be some sort of reason to go for it, right?
Yeah.
Like you were going for it for a reason. You wanted to be the first. let's get people to go for it. I love where your head's at. And, whatever, if there's a club with jackets, with memorial, some sort of pomp and circumstance, people love that stuff. They remember that stuff. So, of course, absolutely, I think, but let's ask the audience, yay or nay, guys. What do you think? 300 mile per hour club to the 8th mile, 660 feet. Should we do it? Type in the comment section, yes or no. And I have a feeling I know the answer, Jim.
Yeah, I don't know why not, but it will live. They didn't have a 300 mile an hour club for the funny cars, so we were one of the first member of the Top Fuel Club, at the time. So that was a little disappointing, but yeah, man, dude, let's kick it off. I don't know. A funny car could go 300. Obviously they're a ways away, but Top Fuel is not. And shoot, Maple Grove with the weather, who knows when the time will be. And crew chiefs, will they push for it? Right? It's
history. And the milestones, let's face it, we less milestones now because the cars are so amazingly quick and fast. Now, I want to ask you about the sensors and all, but look, now that we've done this, and I appreciate you for going your own road on the show. I love that, right? When a guest does something, look at this, everyone, 100%. Yes. You have to do it. Have the club. Do anything to bring attention to the sport. Absolutely. Everybody's saying yes. I totally agree. But returning to the sport, the level of extremity it was back in 1993, you had Mike Klober as your crew chief when you went the 300, which I think is so cool because up until the other day, Mike was involved in the sport, and I fully predict he will be again. The guy is too knowledgeable and too sharp and gives too good a starting line interview to not be involved. And so I hope Mike is back. There's your car. The next round, of course, was unfortunate because this was the car. But when you come back to the track, though, and you see the cars the way they are now, the way Mike and Tommy D and Justin's driving it, the feeling of intensity, it's gone up. Like the shock of the car, it's gone up a lot. But what is your perception?
Well, that's interesting because, we used to be able to run 100% nitro, but with the way that the engines are now and making 11,000 horsepower, and what I was probably more impressed with is ability and everything that they monitor, and their ability to repeat within, thousandths and hundredths of a second, run after run. And the amount of data, it takes a lot of data to do that. It also puts, really good teams, to put these cars together the same way every time. So it is intense. And now that I'm kind of getting, Tommy D and Mike kind of giving me the rundown on everything they need, I'd love to get involved in helping on the sensor side. More data is really, the key. These cars are so competitive. And it wasn't really that way, when I was racing, even in the early 2000s, there wouldn't be that many close races. But now 1,000 feet, the races are shorter. There's no room for error. Starting line has become critical. You have to be a lever. You don't have that extra 320 feet, to run somebody down. You can't run big speed. You got to look at every increment of the racetrack, to be able to to win these races. So I'm just fascinated. And this is what's really cool, though, is to bring new customers and to the races and watch it on TV and have no idea, how difficult it is to do what these guys do. And then to take them all apart, put them back together, and then repeat. I mean, that's just amazing.
And so I was reading an article the other day about Formula One and how they've grown. And obviously, if we could emulate their growth or their level at all, we should take it very seriously. And one of the things that they talk about is that the data, right? Like every team has so much data. And so a lot of the technology companies are involved in Formula One because they can showcase their ability to gather data, to move data, and that translates to business, and that's why they sponsor. And it got me thinking about Phillips-Connect, and this is the graphic I put up to show the transportation industry out there, some of the sensors that are available. And I think that your company is a technology company and a data company, and I love hearing you say more sensors because that's what will draw some of these data processing companies, data storage companies, cloud computing companies. I know why we don't do full-on electronic stuff. With crew chief still gotta work the flows like it's an instrument. We want to keep that human element, but tracking data, storing data, moving data, and using that data so the human element can process it and adjust the clutch. I think that would be good for sponsorship to bring some of those big companies into drag racing too. We've got data to move around. We've got an audience who have businesses. Let's get some of those technology companies, in addition to yours, involved. And it sounds like what you're talking about would do it.
Well, it would. Just like I was telling you, Sensata, they build sensors for the automotive market globally right now. So just about every car has Sensata sensors on them. So they are building specialized sensors for the transportation company just for Phillips-Connect. And it's really been amazing to all the technology we're putting on trailers. It's not just where's my trailer anymore. It's all about, what's the tire pressure monitoring, what's the inflation doing. And we've got autonomous that's very close, and they're driving these trailers down the road without drivers in them. And so we have to monitor the trailer, and we have to have cameras around the trailer, and we need to know the health of the trailer at all times. So we're bringing that technology to transportation. We've got some of the largest transportation companies using, our products, and we're continuing to grow. But the racing side of it, believe it or not, has really been a really good fit, because a couple things. I design all the products pretty much at Phillips-Connect, and I build them, and I design them to be very OE friendly, because you can build something overly complicated and you can never deploy it on an asset. So, and I get that, from my racing experience. It's all about, how quickly you can, put it on, take it apart, and service it as well. So we're bringing that to companies like Sensata, who says, okay, I build these sensors, but how do I deploy these sensors? And what can I do with the data? But I'm going to bring a lot of the engineers out to Epping and show them what we do, and let them talk to Mike and Tommy and say, what can I do to help you? What kind of sensors can I bring, to help, make your life better? Like you say, data is everything, and if you can have more data, we could potentially have an edge. It's tough. Everybody wants an edge, but like you say, it's the crew chiefs and the drivers, a lot's in their hands, but the crew chiefs, they want more data. So
yeah, well, if you don't have data, you've got an opinion, right?
There's a lot of seat of the pants back when we were driving. It's like I have no idea why it ran that good. It's when Mike went 300. It was really, we were struggling trying to make the car run, to half track, and Mike was a big fuel volume guy and worked with Waterman and put a lot more pump on the car than most people, and kind of. He was all about trying to make it consistent and run it out the back door instead of trying to make it run hard to half track. And it wasn't really about running 300. It's about quit smoking the tires, so much, right? But it's just come a long ways, from there, to where you're at today. There's so much more technology in these cars. It's really kind of mind blowing to me. How much technology there is.
Well, rightfully so. I see Slugger out there with the Toyota guys, and I'm very impressed. I would love to see the secret stuff they've got going on inside their tech trailer. It has to be that way. That's what many of our fans, maybe not all of our fans, but many fans in motorsport are interested because of technology. That's what auto has always been. It's been where the technology is, and watching that advance is a big deal. Now, let me ask you, though, I want to make sure we get everybody understanding. I love the fact that you developed the sensors and many of the products for Phillips-Connect. I was kind of like, how are you exactly related? And you said, I want to know, we got so many sportsman racers. We got people in the trailer sales biz. Like, our community is a hub for people who are using this kind of stuff. I know you got big customers too, with giant fleets. You mentioned the autonomous. We could go hours for that, because I do wonder how close it is actually. But for our sportsman racers, though, what would work for them in addition to where is my trailer? Because that's number one, like, where is my trailer? But everybody's got the story of going down the road and all of a sudden you've blown a tire and you've destroyed the side of your trailer and maybe your cargo and all of that. From what I understand, you guys can monitor many different things about your trailer, or fleet of trailers. to prevent those things or catch them in advance?
Well, just little history. I actually helped Tommy Johnson build his his device he used for security. So that was connected to one of my earlier telematics devices, and kind of helped him get started on that. But now, we put Antron Brown is we got different technology on his trailers, and he's got on his kids' cars now, and so we'll get involved. We have a whole reseller channel that kind of specializes in that, and I'd like to put a package together for our NHRA teams that they could use this technology. I run a motor coach down the road with this tech trailer, and I can't imagine driving down the road without knowing what my tire pressures are doing. And if I have a wheel end event and I'm about to catch on fire, I need that alert to happen, before it becomes a problem. So we really kind of focus on 53-foot dry vans right now, but we will have a package, for sportsman racers and guys like, what I'm doing on this trailer, to help prevent that. You see it in the news all the time. There's a lot you don't see about issues with tires and not paying attention and having a blowout going down the road. And there's a lot of other things that we monitor. I've got cameras that are in this trailer right now that, we can take a picture on demand of what's going on with your cargo and all kinds of cool technology.
And so tell us about the trailer. This thing is going to the rest of the races, as are you, as I understand. You're allowed to skip one in there at some point. But is this open to the public? Is it only open to the racers? Are you bringing people in there to show what's possible? Is this what's going on with this new trailer that you're hauling around?
Yeah, it's initially it's going to the races, but it's also going to customers that are within 100 miles of the races. So our goal is potentially before a race, we would go into a customer location like we did here in Pennsylvania, and we introduce our technology, but then we'll invite them to the race, and it's about building relationships, and racing is really good at that. Once you get them to the race and you're part of the hospitality and they get to meet, Justin, they're wanting to do business with you, really increases. And that's NHRA. There's nothing better than that. As far as at the races, I haven't really figured out how this might fit, to be able to showcase it. We've been talking to NHRA and Amber's been working with them on, should we put it in the midway? Should we put it in the sportsman pit? We bring guests. I'd like to bring a guest and be able to show it to them without having to trek out to the motorhome parking lot where we're at now, right? So I haven't worked all that out yet, but our goal is to do a lot of this before the races. And again, it's about introducing them to our technology, bringing them to the races, building relationships, and then owning them. We've got, when I was racing back in the day, if a competitor comes in to try and sell a competing product and they know if they went that direction, they're not part of your race program anymore, that factors in, their decision to stay with you or not to stay with you. So I'm a big fan of motorsports and relationships, and we're just getting started right now. And, I love, that Justin is so involved, personally with these guys and has a connection with them, because that really helps a lot.
Yeah, well, the kid is amazing, and I'm not just saying that because he's like a young, fresh face, and we need that. Like, we desperately need the Justin Ashleys and the Josh Harts and the Brittany Forces to succeed and capture their own fan base the way you have. And I think about Rug Doctor, right? Like, I don't know how you brought them on, if you had a personal relationship or what, but till right now, drag racing people, if they need to clean their carpet, they're getting the Rug Doctor because of you.
Yeah.
Decades ago, a century ago, those connections are made, and drag racing fans, they honor those connections. Like, nah, there's choices. I'm not going with the Stanley Steamer, guys. I'm doing the Rug Doctor because of Jim Epler in 1993. And I don't know if it happens elsewhere, but it definitely happens in drag racing.
Oh, it is. They're very loyal. They want to support those that support the sport. And I've been a fan of that Phillips. It's funny because Phillips, they're on 100% of the tractors in North America and about 70% of the trailers. That's Phillips Industries, air and electrical. Our side of it, Phillips-Connect, we have an uphill climb. We're 3 years old, and I want our technology to be on, that kind of path. So we're on 70% of the trailers, and so Phillips brand is very strong. Phillips-Connect brand is growing, and we plan to use race marketing and motorsports to help build that brand. So it's with a lot of work. And I will say, I talk about the slow road that you used to do it. You go to trade shows, you introduce the product at the trade shows, but with this pandemic, it's caused us to rethink that. We'd spent a lot of money. First of all, they wouldn't come at all, because they're afraid of catching something, or they would send non-decision makers. And now I am bringing this. And the other thing, I design the products, and where I get my information from is technicians, not sometimes C-level guys, because the technicians are the ones that work on the trailers that say, I really need this sensor to help me. And then I'll bring that back, to our engineering team, and that's how I created it now. But I told Justin when we started this, this 12 hours a day in the office every day, that's not me. I need to get out in the field, and so this has allowed me to do it. So I'm just really fortunate that the two paths have crossed, and I get to enjoy drag racing and technology all at the same time.
No, I love it, and we need it. We have to be a technology sport. We have to be on the cutting edge. We can't be, and I love the nostalgia stuff and all of that, but the world of technology is advancing always. And the second, in my opinion, you stop trying to keep up with modern technology is the second you become old, right? Like you can be an 80-year-old person, and if you're on your iPhone and you're sending out a tweet and then you're current. You're just 80. The second you've got the flip phone and you surrender to the idea that you can learn something new, then you're old. And I know a lot of people who they give up. Oh, I'm old. I can't do that. Bad. I think it's bad. I think we got to keep up. And that whole theory applies to us as a sport. We have to find ways to use modern technology, and the way you guys are doing it, getting to and from the track, business to business with our sponsors and the people that are passionate about drag racing, keeping their businesses safe so they can go out and make money to fund the sport as it is, I think is a great way. We just need Justin to get out there and keep in the mix. What do you see happening for the remainder of the season?
I think we'll continue to get stronger. I'm really impressed with Dustin Davis and how he runs the team. And I'm really, I haven't been to a race, since Phoenix, so it's going to be neat to get back out there and see what's going on, and, see, I'm not there to offer really any advice. I love to listen to what's going on and offer anything I can, but it is so tough. My job is to support and help fund the team. And I think we'll be good. Justin's a great driver, got a great group of guys that run the team, so you got to hit your stride at the right time, right? Which is this countdown thing. I'm personally a fan of it. Just back when I was racing, John Force had the championship wrapped up by Indy half the time, and
you are, or you are not. You are. Okay.
Yeah.
Me too.
So I think it's good. It was good, for NASCAR. I think it's good for us. And, I look, we might be in a position where we're not a fan of it when I have to live it later on this year. But right now, I think it's exciting. I mean, I'm into anything that creates excitement. You were talking too about technology. This is the funny thing about speed. And I mention this only because people relate to speed so much. And then when we changed to 1,000 foot, now we're talking about, 360s and 370s instead of, 460s. But everybody can relate to speed. And I completely understand not trying to go 340 miles an hour at every track. The cars are heavy, they're hard to stop, and that's too fast. So But I do think there'd be a lot of excitement around, pushing this 300 mile an hour, 8th mile barrier thing.
I love it. People are very into it. I would like to see a 340 once somewhere, right? Like somewhere the one, 340. We saw it. Like we all want to see it, but I agree with you. 330 as the benchmark of a really good run. 330. Wow. That's a big deal. Yeah. With when guys go 335, 336, that's unbelievable. With the quickest run ever being a 340 and change that happened in the best conditions ever, I would be okay with seeing that on the board. People love speed. It's all about speed. Chicks dig the lawn ball.
They do. Despite us purists, who's all about ET, but you got to remember the fans. The fans relate to speed.
They do. That's you can't. Wait a second. I go 80 and I'm speeding. And these guys are going, 3.5 times that. That's unbelievable stuff.
You talk to somebody 0 to 60 times or 0 to 100 in under 1 second. That nobody can fathom that.
They can't fathom it. They cannot fathom it. How close are we to autonomous trucks? Not that I don't know if I want them, because I think about every over-the-road trucker that I know through radio and podcasting. A lot of our listeners are over-the-road truckers, and it's a great job for somebody who just wants a great job, right? You don't have to go get degrees and stuff. You can go and be trained. And so I wonder if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. But what I wonder about has no factor in whether or not it's coming. And I think it's probably coming. How far away is this, Jim?
Well, I hate to break it to you, but it's here. They are driving completely autonomous right now in certain lanes, and it's mostly testing. But that's no driver. They've got pilot cars back and in front and back, but so this is why for us we're not involved in that. What we are involved in is making sure that the trailers they're going to be towing are safe. And all of the large transportation companies are, looking at this. And driver shortages are a real problem right now. Recruiting and retention, and you see that from Josh Hart and the R&L guys. That's big everywhere. And I don't want to displace truck drivers either. What I want to do is make sure that, and what we do for retention, just to be clear, that's really important is. One thing that frustrates drivers, if they're not turning, they're not earning. So when they go to pick up a trailer, if it has an issue, then they get really frustrated. And if the other company doesn't have the issues, that may make them move. Or that oftentimes they get so frustrated because they're promised they can make so much money, but they have so many equipment issues, they're not making the money. So our piece is to help, drivers with, continuing to be in good equipment. And then, autonomy, it's not going anywhere. The first piece of it really is going to be kind of smart. The yard tractors that move all these tractors around, using autonomy for that. Phillips is making the air and electrical system, the auto coupling, they auto couple now. So we're very involved with that. So that's kind of the first step, and that's not really taking too many jobs away. But I don't really see, you're just not going to see, especially any hubs or anywhere, where you need that driver, to be there to help guide the vehicle in. But there'll be a lot of technology on these trucks. Electric trucks are coming. We're putting technology on the trailers to help extend, the range of these trucks to go more than 500 miles, which is really what's needed. So you'll see a lot of neat technology coming. And I just don't know if the true autonomous driverless tractors, when that could happen.
Interesting. Well, listen, technology is what it is. It's coming, and you can't stop it. You can't hold it back. And any civilization that has tried ends up failing. So it's right. Good things, new jobs, new things will come out of it. The people who take care of the autonomous, that's not the issue. I love the fact that we've got a technology company involved in drag racing, and you're out there keeping people and their loads safe, and maybe even making their work situation more positive where they can earn more money. And keeping Just Nationally on the track is my number one thing. I appreciate it.
Me too.
This has been great. I loved seeing you and Erica and hearing that little bit of history. But it all worked out for the good, I think. And I'm most excited about seeing you out there this weekend, or next weekend, excuse me. It's Memorial Day weekend here in town. The next race we go to will be Epping. Old school track, Jim. Have you been there? Have you?
Yeah, I've raced there. I've match raced there many years ago with Jerry Tolliver. I'll never forget, one of the runs at night, you couldn't see the half track because of the fog. And it was my craziest run ever because the throttle stuck, past the half track or past the finish line. And that was a scary moment, but I got her stopped, and but that was one of my memories, from Epping. So.
Home of Segrini, right? Those guys up there.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Well, I'm excited. We're all going to have lobster. We're going to be lobstered out by the time we get to the weekend. But thank you for educating us about Phillips-Connect, your role, the team, and hopefully this is just your first appearance on WFO. And if it's okay, I'm going to try to publicize the heck out of your 300 to the 8th mile club concept. It's something that everybody needs to share and get out there and start talking about. And let's make it happen. I would love that.
Yeah, Amber White's been she's a fan of it as well, and she's floated this, so I think she could use the additional support from our fans. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate the opportunity to get that out there.
Absolutely, no, it's out there now. It's in the ether. People are going to be discussing it. They're going to be battling. It's going to be water cooler conversations. Except this is not very controversial. I think everybody just thinks about it and says yes. That is a brilliant.
I just don't see a downside. At the end of the day, I get that. I get trying to slow them down to 1,000 feet, but shoot, make them run hard to 660, right?
Doesn't even matter. They're going to do what they're going to do. They're always going to run as hard as they can, no matter what. That's what they do. Go ask, Mike Green and Tommy Delago if they're slowing anything down. You can't stop them. That's why we love them, because you can't stop them. All right, Jim, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Okay. Appreciate you having me.
Take care. Thanks for fighting through the issues. Who knows? This was really good, though. Thank you.
Thank you.
There he goes, Jim Epler, Mr. 300, with us here on WFO Radio, Phillips-Connect.com. For those of you that are interested or in that business, go to the website and check out all the different sensors that they've designed. And I love knowing that Jim, he's the guy developing them, working with a team to develop what is needed by these people with fleets of trucks and tractors. And I love the idea of them being safer out there over the road.